What's going on, everybody? Welcome again to Epic Guy Radio. I am your host, Tadal. So this is WTIM with your host, Tadal. Uh, we got a really good one here. Again, we always keep it rolling, you know what I'm saying? So I'm coming at you all with a really good subject today. It's actually one that I think a lot of people they like to discuss it, you know. So um, I think this is something hoping somebody will weigh in tonight on this. Because it's something that, we should really all be talking about. It's just where are you on the other end of the spectrum with this thing. But before we get there, I feel good. I feel really, really good tonight. I started my workout back up. That is what really got me on the subject that we have today. Um, Part of it, but we got a lot to talk about tonight. So before we get into this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It helps. It helps push the agenda. It helps push the news and information out there. And that's all I really want for everybody. Just put the information out. You know, I just want to get it out to everyone, and just give you something to think about. I'm not really against one person or another. I'm against wrong. I'm for right. I'm for truth, and I'm against lies. So that's the whole matter that I'm dealing with, which brings me into today's subject. Uh, Today's subject is whose truth is it? That's today's subject. And the motto for that is where are you when the smoke clears? That's what we want to know here today, people. Where are you at when the smoke clears? And whose truth is it? So let's jump right in on this. Is why does it seem like the government doesn't really want you to get better? You know, when we look at a lot of things that's going on, they're dropping health coverage all over the board. You know, one of the things that I look at, when we're talking about like people getting better and everything like this, here in this country, you pay. You pay for any of the services you want. They say, look, we gotta do this operation on you. It's gonna cost this amount of money. And you say, okay, all right. All right, I guess that's what I gotta do. They say, okay, well, you pay us this and we'll get started. And it's you pay first, then we'll get you better. So basically, you're just gonna let me die if I don't have the money to pay you. You know, Prime example of that. In every other country, you get better first and then you pay. That's how it goes. But here you pay first, then you get better. But prime example, me and my son it was one of our favorite movies. And actually I listen, don't don't talk about me, but it actually brought some tears to my eyes. And it was that movie with Denzel Washington. It was called John Q. And the little boy, he fell out on the baseball field. His heart was bigger than what it was supposed to be. And they were talking about the kid was about to die. Like, this is your child. And, you know, even as the movie was going on, the one guy says, so what you're telling us is if we don't save your kid, you're gonna shoot one of us. Because that's what you're telling them. He held the hospital up. But he was, he wanted them to do something about his child. You're just gonna sit here and watch my son die, and then all these different health coverages. Oh well, I've been paying into this health coverage for 10 years. Paying into this health coverage with you for 10 years, and now that my health coverage. No, we have health coverage. Um, and this is how they do. When it comes down to it. And I mean, you got to look at this stuff. I'm and it's really really crazy how this thing is going. And it's not just health coverage. When you look at it, why is it that the healthy food in the stores costs more than the food that is going to kill you? Like I'm not really getting that. I had a heart attack, man, and that is something nobody wants to go through. That's why I get into this working out and everything like that. Cause I can't do that again. And then I was talking to my nephew on the phone and his friend was in the background. I ain't going to the hospital. Yeah, you are. Like, I don't care who you think you are. It was so much pain, it knocked me out. That's how serious it was. I was sitting there and it knocked me out. Like, it was, I couldn't take it. So at the end of the day, I don't care what you think. I don't care how tough you think you are or any of that stuff. When it comes down to what this man wants, there ain't nothing you can do, man. I mean, and I'm not saying that in a way for fear or anything like that. But when it's time, oh yeah, you're gonna go. And it's like, even when you look at like drug addiction, and stuff like that, it's like, why do they make it hard for people? Like, okay, you take me for instance. Okay, right now I'm dealing with a situation where I'm trying to be able to get clearance for certain jobs to help certain people. Now I know I can help these people because I'm doing it all the time. You know, but you'll sit here and you'll make it hard for me to get this job to help people with drug and alcohol recovery after I've had my little issues in my past. You'll make it hard for me to be able to go help somebody. Maybe some of these people I had even been around before. And, I relate to them. I probably grew up with some of them and I relate to them. And you'll make it hard for me, but you'll bring somebody in from Quebec who has never even been over here in this neighborhood, never used a drug, never ran up and down any street in the neighborhood, and you'll put them in that neighborhood to help this person because they went and read a book. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't have knowledge or anything like that to help, but when we look at how this thing really goes, you know, I used to smoke cigarettes and weed when I was younger. Like, I'm 9 years clean. I don't care. I don't want none of it. Like, I like my faculties today. I like to be in my right frame of thinking. When I'm talking to somebody or I'm dealing with somebody, I like to be in my right frame of mind. I don't want any kind of altercation because I can think quicker, faster, and I see things for what they really are, you know. And I'll give you an example to this later. However, if I don't understand how it is that if I know you and we both used to sit and smoke weed together, and then I turn around and I haven't smoked weed in almost 10 years, don't even want it, ain't even thinking about it. And you used to smoke with me, and you're like, I need to do this, I need to take this path. How can somebody from Wyoming or wherever they're from come in our neighborhood and then tell this person how they need to the pathway to their righteousness? How I mean, it's just curious to me, especially when I'm sitting right here. I'm still close to you. I'm still near you. So that's just weird, you know. I mean, I've seen people, you know, in the roles that I have played, you know, sober living properties, and I've worked at recovery centers before, you know, and even when I'm talking to them, I know how to deal with them. You know, I know how to deal with them. You know, I back in the day, I used to sell drugs. I got in trouble for selling drugs, you know, and even doing that, I have to know how to deal with you to sell it to you. You know, like so. Even on that note, you know, I've never smoked crack, you know, but I sold it, and I've dealt with you on that level. You know, people with crystal meth. The fentanyl thing was kind of new when you know I quit. You know, I'm you know I can't tell you nothing about that. Plus, man, it was too dangerous. Like you know, for me, I don't understand. I mean, you know, listen, you know, people had their own hustles. You know, I just that's not something that I could condone. You know, it's killing people. Like it's literally killing you. You know, like you could touch it. Cat Williams said this is some stuff people they touching and dying it and dying from it. Like you know, like I couldn't. No, that's not something. You know, but all the same, you know, I mean, that's some strong stuff. You know, the weed has gotten stronger over the years. You know, um, they went when I was growing up. They had quarterback weed. Then it went from that to 50 a quart and all this other stuff. Like it got crazy, man. It really did, you know. But I just, you know, I've seen people come from privileged neighborhoods into the neighborhoods that we grew up in and try to tell us about each other, you know. And I mean, these are like some of the problems that we run into when we're dealing with society, you know. I mean, there's no connection, and then they'll say, "Well, we're trying to connect with you," you know. I can't connect with you. We're not even from the same background. We don't have the same background, but and this, well, that doesn't matter. If you want to connect with me, you will. And then you wonder why people re-offend all the time. This is a constant thing. Even the programs, it's baffled me how they do the programs. You have a 3 month to a 6 month program. You've been smoking and using drugs for over 10 years, and you 3 months to 6 months. Well, it depends on how much they really want to get better. That's not the case. That's not the case. You know, I guess for me, it was one of the things that my ancestors or my elders said to me. They said, when you sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you gonna change. And lucky for me, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I was tired, you know. But a lot of people they don't come to that point of realization. They need a push there. And it's not even really a push there. You know, a lot of times, you know, what you have to do is you have to point certain things out to a person. You know, there's a pain that a lot of people are dealing with. When you go in these neighborhoods, you know, and you find somebody that, you know, they've never known their father or their mother died when they were 4 and they're looking at all these other people who had a mom. Yeah, my mama, my mama, my mama, and all they know is grandma. It compensates. That's all that does, but it's not a mom. You know, so that's a failure. You know, some people they probably really loved a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You know, and they might have had a shortcoming and lost that person. You know, some of the major things that happen are people that are in neighborhoods. You take some of these sports figures, you know, and they might blow out a knee, or something bad happens in the course of them trying to make it to the NBA or make it to the NFL or wherever they're trying to get to. Something happens and they don't make it. That's a loss. And that's a major loss. That's a major loss. And when you have that loss, the next thing you do, I mean, man, that'll make me smoke a blunt. I ain't get to the NBA. I'm sitting up here watching LeBron James, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, Jalen Brunson. Like, I'm looking at these people. I mean, man, especially when you come from the time frame that I come from, man, look, you got these kids out here wearing skinny jeans and Crocs every day, all day long. I told my son, I said, look, if you wore skinny jeans or some Crocs when I was growing up, you'd have got beat up. And that's facts. They would have tried you. They would have tried you just because look at this dude. You know what I'm saying? He's sitting up here, got skinny jeans and Crocs on, you know what I'm saying? like what's up with this dude? Like, hey, bro, let me holler at you. It would have been one of those situations. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, even when you look at like the fact, like Dr. Sebi was one person that I've been hearing cancer for the longest. But the thing is, there's a lot of medications out there that are actually helping to cure diseases. I know my mom; she passed away for cancer, from cancer, and there was a pill out called Ukraine without the E, just like the country, and it was known to literally help eliminate cancer cells. Like literally, there was a woman that was diagnosed to die in 6 months back in 1988. My mom passed away in 2006. 2006. This woman was literally diagnosed to die in 6 months in 1988. They administered Ukraine. She was still living when my mama passed with no recurrence of cancer. Known pills, but they don't want to give these pills to the government so the government can rape them for all the money that they want to do. They want you to continue going to chemotherapy. Why? You got the doctor making money off of you going to chemotherapy. You got the companies that's administering the chemotherapy making money. It's just the people that make the machines to do the chemotherapy. It's a hand over thing. You're making money. They're making money hand over fist. And that's why when you sit up here and you actually have a cure for something, nah, man, you put all kind of people out of work. And a lot of those people are family members. They're family members to the doctors, to the, I do and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this either. Do you know how many Patel doctors I've run into? Dr. Patel, Dr. Patel, Dr. Patel, Dr. Patel. Not even just doctors, case workers and everything else. You can't tell me some of them aren't related. This is a normal thing. When it comes down to these doctors and these other companies and stuff, these people are related. So no, they don't want your cure. And if you allow them to have the patent to your cure, they don't necessarily, yeah, the FDA is going to look at it. But when you and I both know that these pills help cure whatever diseases are out there, and it's known that they've been cured. Look at the Dr. Sebi stuff that's been getting people right. I'd use some of Dr. Sebi's stuff now myself, so and I'm feeling a whole lot better than hey, my heart attack was in 2020, 2021, going into 2022. Now I got to run. I got to run. I got to go play basketball. I got to do something, because I refuse to go through that again. I mean, we can't say what is going to happen. I mean, I did a lot of things with my body in the past, but I truly believe you live healthy, eat right, and do what you're supposed to do. You can avoid a lot of things. But he was curing a lot of stuff. But what they don't want is to take this stuff. They want to know how they can make money out of it. That's all they want. Yeah, well, listen, you need to let us see that. Well, what I need to let you see it for? You see the people that's better. They're all better. Look, here they are. Here they are right here. And, they tell them, we still want to run some tests on it. No, you're not taking nothing of mine and doing nothing with it like that. Well, we might need to add this. No, I don't need you to add nothing. And I get it. What is Food and Drug Administration? FDA, back to the alphabets, but this is all it is. So I mean, this is what they do. And yet this is called the land of the free. That's what we even going into that. Let's hit on that. If this is the land of the free, why is it we have more private prisons and the highest incarceration rate over every other country? If we're the land of the free, that's something to think about. I mean, they're locking people up left and right, and you're not. It's what do they call it? Recidivism? People that keep coming back, because there's no actual rehabilitation. I've been in there. It was me and my creator that worked my situation out. That's what it was. They don't. It's not about. They got little programs and things like that for you in there. Man. But once you come in there and you go through that receiving center, and once they get paid for you, this is why you have people dying right in prison through violence from correction officers, other inmates, diseases. There's boxes of food in there that say not fit for human consumption, and they feed it to the inmates. I am telling you what I know. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And then when you sit there, I was in Franklin County Corrections Center 2 in Jackson Pike. They have a controlled situation with the commissary in there now. Because one time they tried to punish our whole cell for something that someone else did. And I said, well, listen, I tell you what, fellas, I'm going to feed you. Me and another guy decided we were going to feed everybody in the jail, in our cell. We were going to feed everybody. And that's what we did. When they came with the trays, don't nobody take the tray. We cooking right now. And we sat there and we put all our food together. We had the whole table lined up with food, And they, they were upset. They come in there, they called the names. Nobody came to the door. And then next thing you know, they came in there with about 25 deputies, and everybody packed your stuff up. Now they wanted to break everybody up. That was too much togetherness. That's what it was. And they called for me personally. They sure did. They called for me personally. They said, where is he at? I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. But I mean, all they did, they took us, put us in different cells. I guess they thought they was gonna put me in the cell I couldn't make it in. I got it. I made it in there too. It was not about to see. The thing is, you know when you're not a newbie, people ain't really about to, yeah, that's a different story, But the thing is, when when it came down to it, and we refused, and we started feeding ourselves. That's why, like, even in prison, a lot of these guys, after they've been there for a minute, they stop going to the chow hall altogether. They'll tell you, I don't go over there. Like, you sit there and you eating this food, like, you looking at it like, man, I ain't eating this. So, and that's how it goes. But they're not, and then these private prisons, not only that, there was a documentary from one of the guys from Bone Thugs and Harmony. And these people are buying these private prisons left and right. And they held a meeting with them saying, look, if you make this kind of music and put it out, because these young kids, they're listening to this stuff. Like, they really truly are. Um, I'm not gonna say that. I would say about 50% of it had a lot to do with how I started doing things, but it's a different it's different. Like, when we were growing up, we were really actually concerned about the money in our pockets. You know, we're getting into an era where these kids are using drugs, man. They're using drugs, especially this fentanyl and meth and I don't even I honestly, y'all, I haven't been on the streets in a minute, so I can't even really speak on everything that's happening out there. I know what has come across me in recovery centers, you know. And one time, and I'm gonna tell this story. I'm almost done, but I was sitting in the jail, and I'm listening to these guys talk. I'm I'm just I'm just listening. So they're telling their little war stories. So the guy says, "Yeah, man, you know, I he was talking about that fentanyl stuff, and he said I hit it, man, and I just zooted out. I zoned out, man, and I died. My partner had to bring me back, you know." And I'm like, dang, like, so you died, He said, yeah, you know. He said, boy, I'm telling you, when I get out of here, I don't want nothing but what that dude had. I said, well, wait a minute. It knocked me off my feet right there for a second. I said, hold on. I said, so let me get this right. You died from using this. Yeah. And when you get out, you going back to get some more of it? Yeah, but as long as somebody there with me, I'm like, dude, is you serious? Like, you gonna chance that? Like, okay, I don't know if you all are following me on this, okay, but when you die, it is not guaranteed that you come back. And then understand something too. When you die and you don't come back, you know, when you wake back up again, like you headed to your place of destination. You headed to your destination. Like, I don't know where you're going, heaven or hell, but I can almost assure you, if you die from fentanyl, I doubt very seriously if I'm going to see you up in the pearly gates with me. And hey, look, I don't know what your relationship is with the man upstairs. He might say, look, he ain't know no better. He can come on up too. I don't know, but I'm just saying. Like, that's something to think about. That's just something to think about. But however, my biggest question for everybody is, where are you when the smoke clears? You know, are you on this side or are you on the truth side? But you got to think, whose truth is it? What is your truth? That's the biggest question right there. Listen, y'all, this has been good. WTIM, I'm your host, Tad Al. I love y'all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and get back at me. I'll be right here. Thank y'all.